can't seem to live without. For me, that snack is hot Cheetos. So, hot Cheetos have never let me down. They have been there for me during my greatest achievements and my deepest of lows. My family actually made me a lei full of hot Cheetos for graduation instead of a flour lei. I actually remember the first time I ever ate a hot Cheeto. I was 8 years old, and me and my sisters went to our grandma's house for the day. She always stocks up on food and snacks for when we come, and this time she accidentally bought Flamin' Hot Cheetos instead of regular hot Cheetos. So, me and my sisters had a competition to see who could eat the most amount of hot Cheetos. I won. I ate 19 hot Cheetos that day. So, sadly, they are a staple part of my diet, so I decided to research everything you could possibly know about this delicious snack. And so I'm going to talk about the history of how hot Cheetos were made, what's inside of a hot Cheeto, and the dangers and risks of this addictive guilty pleasure of mine. So, it all started with this man. His name was Richard Montañez, and when he was about 12 years old in 1976, he dropped out of school, middle school, when he was 12, and he landed a job working as a janitor at a California Frito-Lay plant. But he was also interested in how the business was run, and especially after there was a company-wide message from the CEO encouraging each employee to act like the owner of the company, and so that they would feel personally invested in the success of the business. And that, he says, is what inspired him to think outside of the box. So, one day while he was working, a machine broke in the assembly line, and a batch of Cheetos didn't get dusted with the normal cheese powder that they usually get dusted with. So, in his autobiography, A Boy, a Burrito, and a Cookie, Montañez took the plain Cheetos home, and he experimented with them by putting chili powder on them. And he was actually inspired by a street vendor in his neighborhood, and that street vendor made Mexican grilled corn and put chili powder and lime on them. So his friends and family liked the taste of the hot Cheetos so much that he decided to pitch the idea to the CEO of the company. The CEO liked his idea so much that they immediately started producing the product and began mass producing the product. So, what is inside of a hot Cheeto? So now that you know how hot Cheetos came to be, I'm guessing a majority of you don't know exactly what's inside of one. So the main ingredients of hot Cheetos are enriched cornmeal, maltodextrin, cheddar cheese, monosodium glutamate, natural flavor, sodium diacetate and citric acid, and red and yellow dye. So according to American Homebrewers Association, in order to make cornmeal, industrial producers put corn into a mill, which then breaks the kernel, and then they remove the reproductive part of the seed, the germ, but that actually takes away all of the nutritional value of the corn. But that germ can then be whisked away to make corn oil, and then the remaining corn is ground into meal. So to make a crunchy puff, food producers like Frito-Lay pour a cornmeal mush into an extruder, and this produces a kind of dough-like substance. The dough cooks in the extruder, and then as it's forced through the exit, moisture escapes in a flash of steam, and that expands the puff. So, maltodextrin is a tasteless white powder that is found in most of your dry flavored snacks like Goldfish, Cheez-Its, Chex Mix, anything like that. And this is what evenly distributes the flavors and colors of the hot Cheeto, so it makes it uniform, basically. And cheddar cheese, it sounds delicious, but it's actually a slurry of cheese, milk solids, and salt that eventually dries into a powder. And then monosodium glutamate, it sounds scary, but that's actually what boosts the flavor of the flavor sensation on your tongue. And without it, the cheese flavor would be pretty bland and not as addicting and pretty flat in flavor. So natural flavor, this, we don't know what this is. It's the secret ingredient in what makes a hot Cheeto so spicy and addicting. Sodium diacetate and citric acid. So the sodium diacetate adds a salty vinegary note, while the citric acid brings out the sour flavors in the cheese. Okay, so, and then lastly, red and yellow dye. They use red 40 and yellow 6 dye. Without these red and yellow dyes, the Cheeto would actually kind of look like a whitish worm. And so these dyes are mixed with other powdered ingredients, and they're combined with vegetable oil, which then makes the coating stick to the Cheetos and your fingers and like everything you touch, basically. So, why is there so much controversy surrounding Hot Cheetos? Because the flavor of Flamin' Hots is strongest among 14 to 24-year-olds, many parents and schools are starting to get involved. The Chicago Tribune reported that officials in school districts from California to Illinois are trying to get them banned. Nutritionists and other health professionals are concerned about the unhealthy habit, and they actually compare the addiction of Hot Cheetos to a mild opiate addiction. So here's why it's so addicting. The red pepper kind of spice in Flamin' Hot Cheetos causes a burning sensation in your stomach. So you look right there. And that's in the gastrointestinal tract of your stomach. And our bodies interpret this hot pepper spice irritation as a kind of burn. So in response to this burn, our bodies release natural opioids that are normal neurotransmitters called endorphins. These are like the feel-good hormones that you feel. So Hot Cheetos are foods that provide such a rewarding experience that we keep coming back for more. But these Cheetos add the burning sensation, which then maximizes the opiate release. So that's why it's kind of compared to a mild opiate addiction. Okay, so you may be wondering, what are the health risks associated with this snack? According to both WebMD and Children's MD, eating too many of these spicy treats can irritate the lining of your stomach because of the high acidity levels in these chips. Symptoms include agonizing stomach pain, heartburn, vomiting and diarrhea, and the more extreme, diabetes, obesity, and high blood pressure. They also contain a hefty dose of salt and other flavor enhancers like MSG, which is monosodium glutamate for short, and that can actually aggravate asthma as well. So, now that you've learned all of the information regarding Hot Cheetos, I want you to ask yourself, do I really want to be putting Hot Cheetos in my body? I personally would, because I don't think it would affect me as much as they seem to say. Thank you.
Okay. How did that go?
I didn't really like it. Like, it was really hard for me to find a topic, and then I decided, let's just do, the snack that I eat the most of. And then I realized that there's really not a lot of information and data on Hot Cheetos, so it was really challenging for me to, write a full speech on it.
Okay.
But, yeah.
You did pretty well there, girl.
Thank you.
All right, audience, if you could, please give her some feedback.
Obviously, I think everyone enjoyed your content, but also just the way you presented it. You knew your facts about Cheetos, the history and stuff. It was good. Thank you.
I like that you incorporated, the personal opinions in it.
Is that it? Only 15 minutes?
I also liked how you kind of added some humor and it kept us all engaged the whole time.
Okay, Lila, really quick. First of all, interesting topic to choose. Sometimes it's kind of fun to have something that is a little different than the rest, and I thought you did that pretty well. I liked your credibility statement. You clearly made that you were an authority on this. You know all about it. You did a nice job identifying your previous statement. The one thing I would say is just be careful with the lists in the body of your speech. That would be one suggestion. I thought you did a nice job of elaborating on the things that you didn't cover. So I think that provided some breakup, so it didn't sound like you were just going through those. I thought you had some interesting support material throughout in terms of what you covered. And eye contact kind of ebbed and flowed, but you did have a nice conversational sort of cadence throughout. The one thing I would say is be careful with hitting so many hard. That's sort of one thing